Good evening and welcome to round 3 of the Phoenix Sim Racing GT Challenge here at the Hungaroring. My name's Joel Ask, welcome everyone this evening, and co-commentating with me this evening will be Thomas Merritt. As always, Thomas, pleasure to have you here. How have you been?
I've been very well, thank you, and yourself?
Oh, living the dream. Living the dream. I've been up to anything exciting? Any more practice? Any more testing? Any more racing for you?
Not since the last round, actually. Mallory was my last round. I got Anglesey in a few weeks in between my GCSEs, which is always fun. A nice 6.5 hour jaunt after a GCSE is always fun. But yeah, it's just flat out here. Just preparing for the next round and for previous GCSEs and upcoming GCSEs. But yeah, I can't really complain. I'm just, flat out at the moment to enjoy the 2.5 months off I've got in the summer. So yeah, can't wait for that.
Absolutely amazing. Lovely stuff. So, this evening, it's going to be the biggest question. So, for those in the YouTube chat, for those that are watching at home, there's been a track change. We say a track change, but actually it's a variation of the track. Some slight issues with ones that were running. So we've changed it to a slightly different configuration. So the drivers are out there at the moment in free practice, just getting to grips with that. But it's going to make for an exciting night's racing because everyone's fresh to it. So drivers are desperately trying to nail down some setups and just make some slight alterations now just before qualifying to get themselves in the right places. Just ready to go for quali and then for the races. So yeah, exciting stuff. I think Thomas, for me, like the past 2 rounds, obviously Carl wasn't there on the last one. There was a number of drivers that didn't take place or didn't attend Sebring, and strategically decided to take that as a drop round. Who's looked strongest for you over the past 2 races?
Well, I think obviously at Monza, Kyle was almost a little bit unstoppable there. We saw that similar in the F4 Championship where he had a really, really good start to the season where there was no ballast and really getting to the grips almost quicker than everyone else with the cars and the tracks that are available in this championship. But as the season's gone on, obviously people find setup changes, the balance of performance evening things out. And it must be said there are some competitive drivers, especially we've seen last round, Nicky Taylor's looking very fast. People like Ethan Hill, who took his first win last weekend, was really extremely positive as well. And Adam's always consistently up there. Quite a few mistakes over the past few rounds, but even so, he's still looking very, very strong. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see tonight. Obviously, there are 7 tenths in the top 4 or 5, so I think we're in for a bit of a treat racing-wise. Obviously, the Porsche drivers have been complaining of a little rear-end loss, quite a bit of instability at the rear, which is knocking their confidence a little bit, which could allow some Ferrari and Mustang drivers into play. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see for qualifying.
Yeah, and just to touch base on that, I think past 2 rounds, I think the Porsche drivers have realised that the rear tyres are struggling, especially towards the back end of the race, and they're having to manage them compared to the Ferraris and that of the Mustang. Now obviously the cars are bopped and they're all sort of comparable in themselves, but obviously each car is going to drive slightly differently, and the way you approach tyre management is obviously going to be slightly different, I suppose. With the Mustang being incredibly quick in a straight line, but potentially not as good through the corners. The Mustang's got going for it is that it can absolutely eat curbs, which is great. But there's pros and cons to every car, and just finding that finite setup tune, I think is going to be the biggest thing, for the remainder of the championship. And those that are driving the Porsches compared to the Ferraris, the Ferrari seems to be the best all-rounder per se at the moment. But again, when you look at the likes of Adam Lahr, 2 seconds up quicker, in the last round when he was flying around and had that incident right at the start of the race and had to pull himself back through and was lapping incredibly quickly. Like Jordan Taylor, started last in the second race of last round and made his way up to P10 and further up the grid throughout. So green shoots everywhere, not only from the Porsche drivers but the Ferrari drivers and again from the Mustangs. So it's all to play for. But you've got to say the Ferrari is looking incredibly quick around this circuit, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, obviously Adam Lyle is P1 in practice, and we've just started qualifying now, so drivers will be eager to get out on the circuit and start banging in their very competitive quick times. We always see Adam Lyle hanging back a little bit in the free practice, not giving his through pace, almost sandbagging a little bit, so it'll be interesting tonight to see if there's any more pace to be shown in qualifying and then the races. Obviously we see him have really good race ones, but then with the reverse grid that always spices things up a little bit. So yeah, there's a few drivers that are looking competitive. Obviously Nathan Williams, after having two really strong rounds, has got a lot of bot with 27 kg. Kyle Felvis also having a decent amount with 30 kg, obviously with his double win at Monza. So we'll have to wait and see how drivers fare with the challenges they're thrown, but I think even so we're still in for very close racing, and the Ferraris are looking extremely quick and positive.
They are indeed. They are indeed. So just before we transition to qualifying, let's have a look at the drivers standing and the top 10 drivers after round 2 in the PSR Continental GT Challenge. So Kyle Felvis leading the way with 62 points, and that's after a drop round for him, obviously not attending Sebring, potentially strategically more than anything. With 62 points, Nathan Williams in second place for the HFT newcomers with 56. Alessandro Cacciacala for VPG Sim with 52, Lorenzo Cotolessa, who was our main man and top point scorer from the last round for ESGP with 50 points, tied with Nicky Taylor for P5, also for HFT rating with 50, and then Ethan Hill in P6 with a stunning win, must say. They were 42 points, Albert Henderson Bell for HFT newcomers 42, and then Josh Martin rounding out the top 10 for Mean Green Racing Team. So 4 drivers there, all tied at 42 points. So it just goes to show how close this is, and still anyone's game leading on to the subsequent rounds. So exciting stuff to come. But as you say, let's roll over to qualifying, see what the drivers are doing. We currently ride on board with Nicky Taylor right now, as he's just getting to grips with the track. A lot of these drivers have already put in just some banker laps, just to get a feeling of how the car is. These sort of rumble strips and green curves that you see on the sort of extensions here, really getting these Porsches sideways. And actually, I think Jordan Taylor and Kyle Felvis came a cropper to that in practice, and almost did a synchronized spin together, which was quite funny to watch more than anything. It's just on that corner there as we're viewing it now. But it looks like they've seemed to have got these Porsches in check and in the right place. So let's see what these drivers can do.
Indeed, obviously drivers now on their first flying lap. Nicky Taylor's going to be the first one to cross the line as he exits the final corner. On the run up to the line, quite a short run up to the line, as he puts in a 42.9, so a little way off what we saw in free practice. Casper following him, I think he has his first lap invalidated as nothing's come across. Same with Lorenzo Cotolessa. Oliver Watson is going to be the next one to cross the line. He's a little way back. Josh Martin, is now coming through the final corner to set his time. A little wide out of the final corner. Car's very squirrely, not very compliant, and he gets quite a bad exit out of the corner. As we now see the time starting to come through. Albert Hendrickson in P2, he's 7/10 off, and then Josh Martin, like I mentioned, with that little slide now 1.4 in P3. But this is one thing that we didn't actually pick up on at the beginning of the stream. Track limits is a very big thing around here. Obviously, there's no gravel or grass preventions, so drivers are going to have to be extremely careful not to run too wide over the red and white curbs. As we see some more competitive times come through. Nathan Williams goes to P2, 3/10 off. And then Nicky Taylor a further 2/10 behind that, but it's Adam Lyle who tops the times currently, 4/10 clear of everyone else on a 42.4. So again, a little way off what we saw in free practice, but that was only their first flying lap. They will now be building up for some more, as there's still half the session remaining.
Definitely, and I think, in practice, I think we saw times of 42.2, if I remember correctly. So a couple of attempts off what they were doing, but again, with qualifying, it's one of those situations where it's sort of ride or die, per se. And as we look at Adam Lyle right now, 2.5 tenths quicker in the first sector alone. So in a good shape to nail that 42.2 that we were seeing in practice. And then following obviously with Nathan Williams with a 42.789, I'm sure these drivers will make their way through and put in some slightly more competitive times against one another. There was several drivers within the 142s that we saw throughout the practice sessions. So, you know, it's going to be what it's going to be. But yeah, like you alluded to, obviously track limits is going to be a big thing. There's potentially a number of drivers that are going to struggle, just with the difference in track limits from track configs that obviously we've changed from, and then just finding their feet. So, you know, qualifying might be a little bit topsy-turvy. It might be a case of, you know, just having a look to see, you know, which drivers, you know, potentially might not put in the best qualifying lap, but actually within the race managed to nail it down and put in a bit more pace than, you know, what people were expecting.
Yeah, certainly. We just saw Carl Felvis there go to P2, 2.5 tenths off. And the next car, as Adam Lyle puts in an absolute stonking lap time of a 41.4, going 1.2 seconds quicker than anyone else out there. So he has found something in that car and that setup that has definitely bonded with him around this Hungaroring circuit. So an incredible time there, but obviously Carl Felvis only just set his first flying laps. He'll be back at it once again, trying to get those times down. We see Nathan Williams going into hairpin 2, no improvement last lap, but he's going to be looking for another improvement as the session goes on and the tyre and the pressures start to raise.
Yeah, and just diving in there, Nathan Williams having to take a void in action and has actually had to bail out of his lap with a car spin in front of him. I didn't see who that was in the Ferrari, the black and yellow liveried Ferrari. Nearly lost that. I wonder if that was Olivia Krzyżanowska actually, and it was. That went round just on the fast right-hander out of the second corner, and yeah, just lost the rear end. Again, just riding on board of her now, you can see the rear end incredibly loose, so she's going to have to back off with 2 minutes 55 left to go at qualifying. Just cool them tyres down and then go again. But you know, it's one of these. The curves are slightly different to the previous track config, and I'm sure everyone's just trying to find their feet with it. But you know, Adam Lyle again, yeah, absolutely phenomenal lap time. But we ride on board with Carl Felvis, who's provisionally on from 42.5, which he does do. A 42.570 for Carl Felvis, but you must say that lap from Adam Lyle was something special. That's almost Max Verstappen-esque.
Yeah, that was mega. Clearly hooked the lap up really, really nicely. I saw that Albert Henriksen going for a spin on the grass, which isn't ideal for him. That's going to put him back a little bit in the session. But Ethan Hill in P7, 2.2 seconds off, your race 2 winner from Sebring. Clearly not quite gelling with this combo, or making a few mistakes. Casper Gazio completely cuts the chicane there. I think he's trying to make up for lost time. Trying to get another lap in, but that will definitely be seen as track limits and we'll have that lap excluded. Nathan Williams running in a solid P3. Again, it's just another round of banking points and staying out of trouble for himself. But, you know, the Mustangs really aren't going well around here. Obviously, we mentioned this earlier in the stream. Currently, the highest one is Alessandro Catricala, actually the only one for this evening, and he hasn't even set a lap yet. So, yeah, not ideal for the Mustangs. He'll be trying to look for a good time after a really positive Sebring. Obviously, it came down to the wire on that final corner when we all had our hearts in our mouths. But yeah, that Mustang, must be said, it handles the bumps well and it's got good straight line speed, but around here, potentially that's not everything, and the Porsches and Ferraris could start to be coming alive again after a dodgy Sebring.
Yeah, indeed. And just looking at as we ride with sort of Carl Felvis now, Sector 2 was much better. Sector 3 down by 1.5 but Sector 1 7/10 slower than Adam Lyle. So Adam Lyle's either found something absolutely spot on in that first sector, or our eyes are deceiving us. But be interesting to ride on board with him and just see, you know, the difference between these drivers. 43 seconds left to go at qualifying. You've got to say, I think Adam's probably got this in the bag. But yeah, absolutely sensational lap, nearly 9/10 quicker than anyone else on the grid. Maybe he's just got that setup absolutely bang on. So yeah, can't take that away from him. Absolutely sensational lap, and I'm sure Carl and, you know, the likes of Nathan Williams and Nicky Taylor and that are going to be scratching their heads a little bit to see, you know, where are they going to be able to find that time. You know, is that pace that he's got purely just qualifying pace, or is he going to have that sort of pace in the race as well? And if he does, you know, are his tyres going to hold on for that long? So it'll be interesting to see what he can do. But yeah, as you see Adam Lyle now crossing the line and setting up potentially, you know, one final lap. I think, did he manage to make it across? He did. So Adam Lyle going again for one final push lap. So he dives into the first corner, late on the brakes. A lot of tyre smoke as we see a spinner of the Porsche in front of him, but that doesn't phase Adam Lyle. Pretty much bang on with his first sector time. So in the right sweet spot, takes it slightly wide, but cuts inside of the apex there, runs across. He's going to hug tight to the next rumble strip there, goes out wide, maximises the exit of that corner to carry as much speed as possible. Blind left-hander here in the cars. It doesn't look like it, but it's because it's such an uphill elevation. Don't quite get to see it. It's sort of like a chance move, and you've really just got to throw the car in. But as it stands, 1.5 tenths off of his sector 1 time, so not quite in the right place, missing the curb and just didn't quite nail that chicane. So I think he's going to bail out of this one as we see a HFT car off to the side there. I'm not quite sure who that was. Potentially Kyle Felvers by the looks of things. But up in sector 2, so we'll stay on board with Adam Lyle at the moment to see what he does through sectors 3 and sectors 4. I must say, neat and tidy, runs right out wide onto the exit curve. Carries a lot of speed into here, hard braking down into the right-hander. He's up again in sector 3, so really matching his time. Not maximising most of that exit curve there, but dives it in, almost V's off this last corner. A little bit squirrely on the rear end, having to wait for the back end to pick up on itself as he now comes into the last corner. He's going to take this very late and then cut back in on himself. And then hug the apex on the inside, runs it out wide, and let's see what time he can do. And he backs off. So clearly didn't think that he was going to do what he was going to, and he wasn't. Yeah, 8 tenths slower in sector 4. But as it stands there, Adam Lyle takes pole here in qualifying with a 1:41.4. Absolutely phenomenal lap with Carl Felvers with a 42.5. And then Nathan Williams in P3 with a 42.7. We're going to let these drivers get themselves back to the pits, adjust their setups, get ready for the race. We're going to go to a quick ad break now, and then we'll move into our qualifying interview with Adam Lyle himself.
So hello everyone and welcome back after a very entertaining qualifying session, it must be said. Very interesting with other people making a few mistakes and some cars being suited better than others. And the person that would definitely know that is Adam Lyle, taking pole position here at the Hungaroring with a very, very positive P1 by over a second. Adam, how was that qualifying session on your end of things?
Yeah, that was fun. Obviously. Yeah, it was good. Just seemed to hook it up. I only really started doing this track a couple of days ago. Absolutely hated it the first few laps, but managed to work out a setup, and yeah, just seems to. It's lively, but it's a bit shaky, if you get what I mean.
Yeah. 100%. Obviously going into the race, half an hour session, and you know the rear's holding up better on the Ferrari rather than the Porsche, but still a slight issue. And obviously you said there the car's suited a little bit more to a bit of oversteer. Is that something you're a little bit sort of on the fence about going into the race, or are you feeling positive that you can withstand that consistency throughout the half an hour?
Yeah, it should be alright. I think Ferrari's pretty good on its tyres for the longer durations. So hopefully them lots sort of drop off a bit before I do. So that's the plan.
Brilliant. And finally, obviously a positive round at Sebring, taking your first win of the season in race 1. Going into race 1 here, is that sort of the plan, to just get away as quickly as possible and maintain that, or are you looking for a bit more of a fight?
Yeah, I mean, I had a good fight last week with Nathan, I think it was, at the front. So hopefully, you know, it's more fun.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I'll let you go away and get prepared for race 1, but yeah, massive congrats on pole position by over a second, and hopefully we'll be speaking to you again after race 1, but until then, good luck for the race.
Thanks so much.
No problem.
There we have it then. Adam Lyle takes P1 in qualifying by, you must say, a dominant margin. So big congratulations to him. Clearly got that setup absolutely dialed and put in the lap of wonders to put himself on pole, and in for a great chance of potentially winning race 1 as well. So big well done there. I must say though, Thomas, you know, just compared to how close the cars have been over the past, 2 tracks, that's a large margin to be ahead by, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, 100%. A second round any circuit and any car is a huge gap. But to have that over a super competitive class of field is something else, and I think that Ferrari is really well suited. And I think he'll be looking for another win potentially in race 1 at the end of this weekend.
Yeah, definitely. And this isn't putting out there, absolutely stonking lap, and big fair play to him. And there's going to be some great points to him if he can nail it down and take the win. It'd be interesting to see what the reverse grid race will be like as well. With that sort of pace, and look, coming on the back of Ferrari's able or capable of doing times like that. It's strange to see only one Ferrari right there up the front, and not more of them per se. Whether that's purely just down to the setup and potentially not getting that nailed in, or maybe a few mistakes made just in the qualifying 10 minutes that they had to get round the track. We don't know, I suppose, but yeah, it's not all over just yet. I have a funny feeling that this race might be incredibly interesting and bring in a few little surprises that we potentially weren't expecting.
Yeah, I think, a second is a big gap, and he was saying that the Ferrari is better on its tyres almost. But last week, obviously, he had a big gap in qualifying as well, and it took him a little way to try and get away from the pack with a bit of a bad start and whatnot. So potentially we could see if Kyle can get in front and do what Kyle does best and put up a little bit of a defence. We might not see Adam pull away off into the distance like he would like. But that's definitely what we want up in here in the commentary booth. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the drivers fare going from the start, and how they are able to keep it consistent over a half an hour period, which is a huge amount of time.
Yeah, and I suppose one thing to look at as well is Adam Lyle hasn't got anyone around him teammate wise, whereas you've got second, third and fourth pretty much locked out by HFT. So I'm sure there's going to be some team orders there between the three of them to push up, because I can't see them fighting one another. I think they're probably going to choose their fastest driver, which at this moment is Kyle, and try and push together after him. So that might be a strong opportunity for them to work together and dethrone Adam at the top. I suppose the other thing you've got to think about as well is with the track variation and the track change before the start of this event this evening, no one's actually done a race run on this variation of the track, or not had the time to, more than anything. They've only been able to put in qualifying laps. So again, that might just make the difference. People are going into the unknown in this race, with a 30-minute race as to how these cars are going to perform.
Yeah, I think the other big thing is they'll be wanting to run these cars as light as possible with the fuel. So they are unable to push too early, really. They need to have a bit of a slower start to be able to get a good end to the race. But like we saw, the Ferrari was really good with Adam behind the wheel at Sebring, so potentially we'll be seeing more of this tonight. But you never know, obviously with Kyle being back, although there is a second gap in qualifying, he's definitely able to pull it back in the races, which we've seen.
So if you're HFT right now, you know, if you're Carl Phelps, you're Nathan Williams or you're Nicky Taylor, you know, what's your mindset going into this? You know Adam Lyle's, you know, a second quicker on qualifying pace. You know, they potentially haven't got that to match him. You know, what's your mindset? If you were that driver right now, one of those three drivers, what would be your mindset going into this race as to, you know, how to manage your tyres, how to, you know, storm after him, how to put him under pressure?
Well, I think it's definitely too early to be thinking about the championship currently, so I don't think there's going to be any real team orders at play or any helping out. But I think they'll definitely have to be very sensible at the start of the race, not to take each other out, and to be able to get a good start and get past Adam. And you know, two cars is better than one car in front of Adam to be able to defend from him. So yeah, I think they'll be aiming to work together at the start, but obviously I don't think when it comes to the bitter end of the race, if they're battling it out, I don't think there'll be any, you know, let Kyle win or let Nathan win. It will be, you know, all out.
Yeah, no, I agree. To be fair, it is too early to be talking about the championship. Yes, okay, you know, Carl is leading the championship as it currently stands right now, but you know, when it comes to it, with 3 rounds in, or start the 3rd round, shall we say, it's still anyone's game, and it's still all to play for. But I think if I was one of those drivers right now, and I think if I was part of that cohort, it would be a case of, can we get ahead of Adam Lyle? Can we drag him back? It's almost like Monaco-esque, you know, where the drivers were not purposely driving slow, but you know, dragging the pack back to allow, you know, certain teammates to be able to, you know, make their moves, or you know, bunch up or really challenge them. Because like we say, Adam Lyle hasn't got a teammate around him, and I think that's going to be the hardest thing. That's, I think, potentially going to be running in the back of his mind, that you know, he hasn't got anyone around him to help support. But you know, when you look at the likes of, you know, Jordan Taylor, you know, also part of this HFT crew, you know, Henriksen Bell P8. You know, these guys haven't quite, you know, made the mark. Ethan Hill, P7, you know, last round's race winner in race 2. So some of them just not quite finding their feet. But you never know what's going to happen. And with a minute to go until the start of the race, obviously, as per always, I'm going to let you take the reins and start this one off. And I'll take on race 2 as always. But yeah, set to be an exciting one.
Yeah, I think it definitely will be. We've got obviously Adam Lyle in the Ferrari up front, and then it's almost a bit of a sea of Porsches until you get back to, I think it's Lorenzo in P5. Yes, it is Lorenzo in P5 in another Ferrari. So, you know, a lot of HFT boys up there aiming to potentially work together, like I mentioned earlier, to get past Adam. But then you look a little bit further down the field, and you've got the likes of Alessandro Catricala in the Mustang, which I love to watch. The Mustang is my favourite car on the field, and I think he'll be coming through nicely after a bit of a bad qualifying. The pace was definitely there. He was up on his final lap, but made a slight mistake in the middle sector, so he'll be looking to pull it back. Olivia as well won't want to be down in P13, or actually last tonight due to a few missed drivers. But yeah, there's a few drivers that want to be working their way through the field, and I don't think the likes of Adam or Kyle will have it as easy as they would like. So with 40 seconds now, the drivers will be getting in the mindset, focusing about the run down to turn 1, aiming to just stay as relaxed as possible, not focus on their mirrors too much, but watch out for dive bombs and moves to ultimately stay in the race. You know, the beginning of the season is just about gaining valuable points for the end of the season, which ultimately every driver wants to do. It's quite a long run down to turn 1 here at Hungaroring, so the drivers will need to get a really good start. As we see the lights illuminate now, and very soon the red lights will be coming on. So, you know, 1 light, 2 light, 3 light, 4 light, 5 lights, and finally the 6th light is on before the lights are eventually out, and we're racing here at Hungaroring in the Intercontinental GT3 Challenge for Phoenix Sim Racing. Adam Lyle gets a really good start and cuts across to take the lead. Carl Phelps also blocking his teammates off in P2, but then a battle behind rages on between Nathan Williams and Nicky Taylor. Nathan running deep into the corner to sustain that P3, but Carl Phelps is looking around the outside of Adam. Adam has been able to maintain his lead and is looking to now, you know, try and eventually build that gap. but it's super close to the front of the field. He actually goes in a little bit deep, which allows Kyle the inside, but he will then get the drive off. So it's definitely not over for Adam at the moment, and there's still 29.5 minutes to go, so he'll just be focused on making no mistakes, and Kyle will be looking to go with him. Unfortunately, I've just seen in the background Alessandro Cacciacola going for a half spin onto the grass, which is not what I wanted to see. I love that Mustang up in front, but it's definitely not over for Adam, as we see Kyle go for that wide line to get the cutback, and he has very nicely got that cutback. He's to the inside going into the chicane, thinks better of it. That is not the ideal place to make a pass, and he's now going to be looking for it into the next corner. He cuts across the inside curb, and it's all in the mirrors now of Adam Lyle. This is some great racing we're seeing. Nathan Williams is also there to pick up the pieces if anything does eventually go wrong. But Kyle, we know he's a very experienced, good driver, and so he'll be focused on, you know, trying to get past Adam as quickly as possible to try and build that gap. But Adam, I don't think in that Ferrari is going to be making it as easy as possible.
No, definitely not. And it almost looked like Adam was potentially backing them up into the chicane, maybe just bunch them up into one another. But, you know, with three, you know, HFT drivers, you know, in the way, and actually Nicky Taylor getting overtaken by Gazior there, now down into P5. You've got to say, Adam Lyle's not had it as easy as potentially what he thought, you know, with the pace he had in quali, again going wide into the last corner, getting the cutback, but he's going to get the run. But you've got to say that Carl Phelps is keeping him on his toes here, and this is exactly what he needs to do. He needs to put Adam under pressure, and Adam's weaving across the straight, just trying to break that toe. But that Ferrari looks incredibly fast in a straight line, you must say. Dives into the first corner. Carl much later on the brakes and actually gained some time there on Adam Lyle. And the Porsches behind of Nathan Williams and then again of Gazior and Nicky Taylor, not too far behind. So again, anyone's race right now, and I think Adam really needs to focus on trying to get away here. But the more he's pushing, the more he's going to kill those tyres. And actually, it almost looks like the Porsche is slightly better in the corners than what the Ferrari is. Whether that's just a case of, you know, tyre warm up and the tyres aren't quite in the right place. You know, tyres going to be cold at the start of the race, brakes are going to be cold, just getting into the groove and getting into the flow. But you must say that Porsche is definitely better leaning into this second sector.
Yeah, he's looking really strong in this middle sector, all over the back of Adam Lyle. Adam's going to have to make no mistakes here to be able to not let Kyle through. Kyle is going to be sniffing every opportunity that Adam makes for him. Kyle actually, interestingly, goes 5/10 quicker in the second sector, claws back that time he lost in sector 1. Like you said, and one thing interestingly we haven't picked up on is the balance of performance, obviously balancing out the cars. We see Adam Lyle with 12 kg and Kyle with 30, so there's a big gap there, and that's potentially why we're seeing Adam edge out on the straights and Kyle lose that bit of time. Kyle with a big snap there, and now he's lost all of that time. He clawed back in sector 2 and 3, and now Nathan Williams, interestingly, is coming into the play on his teammate looking for a move.
Yeah, definitely, and yeah, definitely lost a bit of time down the straight there, and obviously that's going to hurt him massively. You know, Adam Lyle nearly four tenths quicker on that lap alone, and pulled out nearly a second gap. You know, these HFT drivers do not want to be tripping over one another here. So, you know, potentially if one is quicker than the other at this early stage of the race, it might potentially be better for them to do the driver swap and let the other one go and see what they can do, and then sort of fight it out towards the back end of the race. But, you know, as it stands, Adam Lyle seems to have got those tyres into the right window now, and he's got it covered, and he's plodding along quite nicely. As we see a move there for Ollie Watson, who's just overtaken Josh Martin. Looks like it was a slight spin there in that Ferrari. You know, some of these Ferrari drivers not having the luck as Adam Lyle is per se, and really struggling to find the balance in the car itself. But yeah, Josh isn't going to be too happy with that. Obviously, he's a renowned driver. He's done incredibly well in previous championships and real life driver and rally driver as well in his little MX-5. So he's no stranger to getting the car sideways, as he does. Just perfect timing on that corner there, getting the rear end of that Ferrari out and catching it quite nicely with Cacciacola right on the back end of him. But it looks like there, Josh Martin has cooked those rear tyres and just seems to cool them down a little bit, struggling over that chicane. It almost looks like he's driving on ice.
It certainly does. That car is all over the place. And Cacciacola, the big beefy Mustang up behind, probably filling all of his mirrors, has got a good exit out of here and is looking for a move to claw back some points for the championship, as he is third, I think, going into this round. Josh Martin again going in deep into that corner, missing the apex, and this is just allowing Cacciacola to crawl up very consistently up to the back of him. Nice trail break into there for Capricarlo, and now he's back on the throttle and using that grunt of the Mustang to get up with Josh. Adams pulled out 1.6 seconds at the front of the field, so he is definitely showcasing the pace he had from qualifying now. Potentially the Ferrari taking a little more time to get up to speed, but then once it does, it is gone, and it's rapid at the same time. Nathan Williams, 9/10 behind Kyle in his teammate's tow, and then a second back to Casper Gazio. Interestingly, got past Nicky Taylor on that last lap with Ethan Hill in P6. So yeah, a little switch around. But it must be said, except from Capricarlo's spin at the beginning, it's been a very, very clean race so far.
I must say it was a very clean start, but one thing I am just focusing on is the battle between Ethan Hill, Jordan Taylor and Albert Hendrickson Bell. Ethan Hill getting past Jordan Taylor as we just see Hendrickson going very wide, and that blind left-hander that we said about is incredibly difficult through there. The car almost lifts going through the corner, goes incredibly light, and then suddenly the car comes back down, picks up all that downforce, and then yeah, gets itself a little bit squirrely. So he's now chasing on the back of him, but yeah, Ethan Hill almost made that look easy. Straight past Jordan Taylor, and he's going to be looking to push on. Jordan Taylor had a little bit of a look down into the first corner, but just couldn't quite make it stick, and Ethan Hill up to P6 and now ready to chase after Nicky Taylor.
And also at the same time, when you've been mentioning that, Capricarlo's been passed. Well, he made the move on Josh Martin and has a huge gap. Now Josh Martin is fully under pressure from Olivia now. So I'm not sure if there was a little bit of contact to get past there, but even so, it was still a move. And he is up to P10 now, hunting down Oliver Watson, but there's a 10-second gap there. So it must be said, if no mistakes happen, Capricarlo's going to be in a bit of a world of his own for a little bit whilst he hunts down the pack that he is chasing. Really good battle, like mentioned, between Ethan Hill, Jordan Taylor and Albert. Albert dropping back, but Jordan Taylor fully in the mirrors of Ethan Hill. The flashing going on very, very violently there, and he's deep onto the brakes, almost into the back of his teammate, Ethan Hill, focusing on a good exit to hopefully get past. Kyle Fells did not drop away from Adam Lyle on that last lap. He interestingly kept it the same. But Nathan Williams is now 1.4 seconds back, so it's just sort of, back and forth at the moment. Drivers are gaining, then losing, and then gaining, and then losing. So yeah, can't really make a judgment at the moment, because you never know tyres, preservation and whatnot. But at the moment, it's quite a calm race at the moment before we get into the grit of it.
Yeah, it is indeed, and actually Kyle Fell was a tenth quicker on the previous lap than Adam Lyle, so he's keeping him sort of in the mix per se. He is 1.5 seconds off the back of Adam Lyle. I will say 1.4 seconds off the back of him, but it's putting in faster lap time. So whether Adam is just preserving the tyres a little bit in that Ferrari, not that he would realistically need to, and maybe Car's taking a little bit out of his car. As just so we say that, Ethan Hill loses the rear of his car, snaps, puts it straight into the wall, drops himself down as a P8. There's definitely going to be some aero damage there. One thing I am just paying attention to now is Kyle Felps only 1.1 seconds of Adam Lyle, so finally 0.5 just in that previous sector on Adam Lyle. So maybe a mistake there from Adam, maybe just zoning out a little bit and not got himself in that zone that he needs. But yeah, that's going to be spot on for Carlos. He does a 1:42.663 compared to Adam Lyle with a 1:42.88. So yeah, 0.2 quicker on that lap alone. So still anyone to play for, and actually Adam and Carl the only ones in the 1:42s at the moment. So it'd be interesting to see what happens there, as Ethan Hill, as I think now DNF'd and retired, so potentially too much damage on that car to continue. That's a real shame for him. Race 2 winner at our previous round.
And the same for Oliver Watson, spun on the last lap into the wall and has dropped behind Capricarlo, Martin and Cotalesa now. And so he is down into P11, which is not ideal for his hopes of this race, but that promotes the Mustang, which I said if he just keeps it consistent, the mistakes will happen. He's up into P8 now, so good try from him. Like you mentioned, the gap is coming down between Adam and Kyle, interestingly, gap down to 1.2 now, so Kyle really hustling that car. You see him all over the curb, really throwing that Porsche GT3 around the way it likes and wants to be driven. Adam Lyle keeping it much more preserved at the front, it must be said, potentially just saving his car and tyres for the end of the race if there is a last lap challenge from Kyle or Nathan.
Yeah, look, 20 minutes left to go in this race, so we're 10 minutes in. Adam Lyle's about a second and a half now up on Kyle Felvis. He's the lead Ferrari. And actually P2 now down to P7, or P8 shall I say, is obviously all Porsches, until you get to Capricarlo, that's obviously in the Mustang. and then moving, back into the Ferraris and there, like Josh Martin in P9. So whatever Adam Lyle has done to that Ferrari, he has got that in the perfect window and got it in the right places. Carl Feld's now 10th and a half slower on that last lap than Adam Lyle. So again, like you said, it's just a bit of give and take. Each lap gaining a little bit, losing a little bit. But it's still keeping him sweet. Adam has not disappeared as much as I thought he would, based off his qualifying performance, and maybe he is just taking a little bit easy, and maybe again so is the likes of Carl Felvis, Nathan Williams and Gazior subsequent, further down the grid, just to maintain those tyres on the Porsche, because that rear left likes to overheat itself, so you may well see a push from the likes of Carl, towards the latter stages of this race. But as it stands for now, with 18 minutes left to go, maybe just bending himself in as he gets a little bit squirrely, and that Porsche, just every lap, looks like it's just struggling that little bit more just to keep up. And the biggest thing I think for Carl right now is just to make sure that he doesn't push too hard. He doesn't want to get himself into that position where he's cooking the rears and then having to fight the car for the rest of it. But I must say, it does look pretty good over the curbs and holding his position quite nicely.
Yeah, it certainly is. I think the one thing that it needs to be said is Adam is, it's easier for him to maintain this pace. He's not having to hustle that Ferrari as much as Kyle is with that Porsche. He's just staying nice and consistent. There's no moments from him. He's just almost cruising at the moment, just driving that Ferrari within its limit, and Kyle is having to go over that limit to be able to stay on that pace. So essentially, Kyle getting a little bit frustrated, not knowing where to find that little bit of extra time, but it's actually costing him, as he's now 1.8 seconds behind with Nathan Williams 4.7, but I think it's more the car than his driving. We know how quick Kyle is. And looking down the rest of the field, it's quite a big gap, so it's really Adam, Kyle and Nathan with the biggest gaps, or the closest gap, should I say, between everyone else. There's quite a gap back. Jordan Taylor, interestingly, has dropped 4 seconds behind Albert Henriksen, so I'm not sure if there's been a little moment there. And now Alessandro is only 9 seconds behind, so he's driving that Mustang round in the hope to gain some more points.
Quite a spread, per se, of lap times, from a lot of these drivers. I was expecting, slightly faster times from Nicky, but again, we know that Porsche is a bit of a handful. But then when you look at the likes of like Henriksen, again, another incredibly fast driver in that Porsche, and actually 18 seconds off the lead now. Adam Lyle and Kyle were, sort of almost storming the grid. I mean, even Nathan, multiple championship winner in other race leagues, 6 seconds, off the pack, and actually over 4 seconds, 5 seconds now, sorry, off the back of Kyle Felvis. So just not quite got the car in tune, and you've got to say, I think probably Carl's given it maybe 120% right now, just to keep in sort of the realm of seeing the rear of Adam Lyle's car. So I think it just goes to show the level of skill and competency of some of these drivers. It's not to say that other drivers aren't competent, but it just shows the level of drivers that we've got within this championship.
Yeah, it's a super competitive championship, These drivers are all almost the best of the best in Assetto Corsa. They put in so much time and effort and work. It's so close between everyone. Just looking down the sectors, Kyle 36.8, Nathan 37 dead, Casper 36.9, 36.8, 37 dead. It's so close in the sectors. And this is just where we see these drivers, they make one mistake and they're all the way down. So this is where the consistency comes into play, just hitting your marks every single lap, staying nice and consistent every single lap, and not making any mistakes, and it eventually will pay off in the end.
Yeah, definitely. And again, we're right on board now with Nicky Taylor, still chasing down Gazior and sticking to the back of him, about 0.5 of a second behind, and then off Nathan Williams in P3. Nice little battle shaping up here between these this little cohort here, and you've got to say almost that Gazior is pushing right up to the back of Nathan Williams, and I wonder now, Nicky looking like he's probably the stronger of the 3 drivers coming into this chicane section here, and right all over the back of Gazior as he gives him the light flash to say, get on with it. We don't want to be waiting around. Potentially you know, Nicky Taylor thinking, I'm not going to send you. Let's push together. Let's try and take him. If not, I'm coming past you because I've got the pace and I need to be chasing after for a podium here.
Yeah, certainly. I think Nicky will almost be, like you said, staying with Gazior, trying to go for that podium. I think Nicky is quite smart to that. Nathan obviously showing some great pace even without a toe. But I'm looking in the background and Nicky is looking to the inside. I'm not sure if he will rate around or not. Potentially getting a little bit impatient with 14 minutes left to go. Although that seems like a huge amount of time, we're only just halfway through this race. With the times being so close, like I mentioned earlier, every move and every second counts. And if you're being held up for a couple of laps, that could be the difference between a podium and not. So, you know, Nicky's going to have to push on here. He hasn't had the best start to his season, so he's going to be wanting to regain some points tonight. And this could be the round that he does it. He's made no mistakes so far, and he just needs to keep it that way and pick up the pieces of other people's misfortunes. Kyle and Adam, interestingly, I've just been watching their laps over the past few. Gap is 1.9, so it's actually gone up via a tenth in the last 8 minutes. So there is nothing between them. But obviously Kyle just dropping a little bit at the start, which then isn't allowing him to claw back that missed time because obviously they're so close. So yeah, it's an interesting state of affairs at the moment. A lot like we see in this GT3 challenge, lots of drivers spread out, but at the same time very close.
Yeah, indeed. I think the other thing we've got to think about as well is, you know, Car's leading the championship right now. So for him, okay, maybe he doesn't have the pace to chase after Adam, and you know, doesn't want to put himself in a situation where he loses the rear end of that Porsche and puts it into a wall because then he scores no points at all. So, you know, maybe just thinking points mean prizes here, and you know, as we've alluded to before, with the third round here in the GT challenge. So it's still all to play for, and actually, you know, a P2 is better than, you know, P last, realistically. But again, Nicky Taylor getting a little bit screwy out of that left-hander, and yeah, just pushing after Gazior. But you've got to say that, you know, it gets to that point where, you know, Nathan Williams isn't really pulling away per se from these two that were battling away. Nicky Taylor actually 4/10 slower on that last lap than Gazior and Nathan Williams. So a couple of mistakes from him, and he needs to now pick that back up very late into the first corner. And you can see the drivers locking up their front tyres, sorry, which isn't the greatest, especially in those Porsches. But yeah, potentially this is the point now with 12 minutes left to go that we start to see the demise of these Porsches, and then really starting to struggle. And I think that comes to light now with Carl Felvish in 3 seconds adrift of Adam Lyle in that Ferrari, and that goes to show potentially those tyres just hanging on for dear life.
Yes, indeed. They've been pushing them hard now for 18 minutes, 12 minutes left. They were starting to feel the brunt of using these tyres to the max at the beginning. And now the mistakes will start to creep in, I think, where they'll be trying to push the same, but the car is unable to sustain that. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see if we do see any spinners or crashes later on in this race. You see Nathan Williams getting super squirrely on the exit there, and really hustling this Porsche through the sector too, the twisty, windy sector that's very, very fast. So if you go off, it's a big one. And, you know, looking a bit further down the field, Cotalessa now up into P8, and he's passed Catricala 2 seconds quicker on the last lap. So, yeah, really not ideal for Catricala. Just can't quite get that Mustang to work around this circuit, which is unfortunate, but I'm sure he'll definitely be back next round. And, you know, with the reverse grid, anything is possible. So we'll see if he can fight up towards the front. Adam Lyle, now the gap is up to 3.2 seconds between the top two, which is a huge amount. Last lap, 43.8 for Kyle versus a 42.9. So, yeah, big gaps, and there's still 10.5 minutes to go.
Yeah, indeed, and just having a look here at Josh Martin, potentially a race to forget for him in no man's land, and almost, you know, running his own race at the back here, which, you know, isn't the norm for Josh Martin. As we alluded to before, just an incredibly quick driver and knows exactly what he's doing, but maybe just a few mistakes at the start of this race has really not put him in the greatest of positions, and potentially hasn't quite got that setup where he needs to be. You know, really struggling with that rear end, and, you know, it almost looked like he was driving on ice for a couple of laps. And again, you see him get it sideways, and, you know, just not the one for him. I'm sure there's going to be some setup changes to be made for race 2, especially for that reverse grid race. But you've got to say, as it stands, you know, what we haven't thought about is Josh Martin potentially be on pole. for race 2, and you know, if he can dial that setup in and get it right, you know, if you look at the likes of Adam Lyle and the Ferrari, and I'm sure Josh will see exactly what he can do as Josh Martin now comes into the pits, which is interesting because 9 minutes left to go. If he comes into the pits now, which he is doing, and he does box and, you know, retires that car, he's not going to be starting at the front for race 2. So wondering whether that's a drive-through that he's currently undertaken, and may well be. I'm just having a look. No, he is pulling into his pit slot, so that is Josh Martin out of the race and has just given away P1 in the reverse grid race for himself, which is slightly surprising. But again, you know, we don't know if there's potentially damage on that car or anything like that. But yeah, he's got to be kicking himself.
Yeah, he's got to be kicking himself, but I'm sure he'll be resetting for race 2. And try and have the most fun possible, trying to work his way through the field. Obviously, that's not what any driver wants, but that's the nature of the sport, unfortunately. There are more lows than there are highs. I've definitely found that out for myself. But, you know, the gap between the leaders now, 4.1 seconds, even bigger gaps that Adam Lyle is pulling out now. Now, what he's got to be careful of, he is running super fast pace, and the car is looking on rails, but as he pushes it ever so slightly further, you go over that 100% that the car and you are, you know, on the max, and you never know, you could find yourself spinning. So he's going to have to manage this nicely, and as I say that, he goes 7/10 quicker than Kyle Felvis in Sector 1 and puts in a purple Sector 1. So he's clearly not listening to my advice and going for it, but yeah, something to just bear in mind for him with 8.5 minutes to go.
Yeah, you're definitely right there, and it only takes one slight mistake, and you can see him hustling this car as we ride on board with him now. Really getting the front end like, absolutely pointy as anything, and really dialing it in, but rear end is almost screaming per se as he comes through these corners, so potentially not quite as on the rails as what we thought, but you've got to say that the last sector here, Sector 4, looks very clean, and just consistent more than anything, so nice and easy on the throttle applications. He now runs into the last corner, gets a little bit of a wide entry, and then cuts in nice and deep, nice and tight onto the inside of the apex, and runs it out wide onto that exit curb. As we now lead in with 7 minutes 34 left this race, 5.5 seconds ahead of Kyle Felvis. I'm going to say that Kyle Felvis has given up the chase on Adam Lyle now. He knows he's 5 seconds ahead of Nathan Williams. Realistically, Kyle and Nathan are doing pretty much around the same lap time, same as Gazzy or same as Nicky Taylor, all within a few thousandths of one another. So it's one of these ones now where I think Kyle is going to bank these points and look to the reverse grid race and hope that Adam gets caught up in something. But you know, points mean prizes, and you know, don't necessarily have to win from a strategic standpoint to do well in this championship. And you know, ballast also does come into play, as you alluded to earlier. Kyle Felvis with 30 kilos of ballast. I think Adam Lyle, did you say with 12 kilos of ballast, was it? These are things that are going to play a big part of, you know, how these cars are going to drive through the subsequent races.
Yeah, certainly. The gap, like you mentioned, is huge now, and I think Kyle is going to be thinking more about the championship. Adam has had a rough start to the season, and it's not quite close enough. You know, if he wins this, Kyle is not going to be in a position to lose the championship. He's actually going to be extending it to the likes of Nathan Williams and Nicky Taylor. So I think here his best option at the moment is to just conserve the point and stay in second. Catch a Carla in P3 and the championship is down in 9th. So huge gaps. And this second place, if he can just keep getting podiums in every race, yeah, at the end of the season, he's going to definitely be up there. That's what we saw in the F4. The amount of wins he got was not necessarily huge, but the amount of podiums he got was pretty much every race. So, yeah, this is what Kyle does best.
Indeed, as we just ride on board here with Kotleser, and I think this just goes to show the difference between the Porsche and the Ferrari more than anything. And Kotleser just all over the back of Henriksen. You can see Henriksen's really struggling with the rear end of that Porsche. Just struggling to keep it, you know, on the track, especially through the chicanes. That rear end just lifting and knocking itself round. So that's not what he needs. But doing incredibly well to hold off Kotleser, you know, in these last few stages. I say that he goes a little bit wide Does Henriksen into seconds last corner, and to be fair, so does Cotalesa. Cotalesa dives up the inside, and an audacious move there and makes it stick. I don't think Henriksen see that coming and didn't even realise he was going to be there. As Cotalesa, a fantastic move into the last corner and takes P7 away quite nicely from Henriksen. But you've got to say, over 2 seconds quicker on that lap alone. I think it was only a matter of time before that happened.
Yeah, certainly. The pace that he was showing was mega. And that was a fantastic move there. Catricala looking to pick up the pieces, but he's just too far back, 13 seconds behind. And a potential mistake on that last lap just hasn't helped it at all. Olivia not having an ideal race either. And Oliver Watson definitely a race to forget. So, yeah, quite a few drivers have struggled, but it's definitely playing to the fortune of the big championship contenders. Adam is just cruising 7 seconds out in the lead at the moment. He is on fire. Nathan Williams actually quicker than on the last lap by a second than Kyle Felvers, but I think it's a little bit too little too late with only 4 minutes 15 seconds to go. So yeah, these Porsches look to be coming alive compared to Adam in the final bit, but it's just not enough for what he's built up in the first half of the half an hour sector.
Yeah, I have a feeling that Adam knows he's pretty much got this signed, sealed, delivered, and this race win's his. As you see him, very late onto the brakes into the first corner, but yeah, you can see him just easing off now. It's more of a case of bring that car home in the last, 3 minutes 50 seconds than it is to go all out. He's set fastest laps. He knows he's got the pace. His best lap was a 42.4. And yeah, I mean the gap now to Kyle Felvers and Nathan Williams, 8.3 seconds and 11.2. So yeah, this one's pretty much wrapped up, and that Ferrari's still looking on rails. And I think this is going to be, something leading on in subsequent races now, is that Porsche has either got to get ahead in qualifying and qualify ahead of that Ferrari and drag it back, or make the overtaking move, in the first couple of laps, because you see, lap 1, lap 2, how Kyle was all over the back of that Ferrari, and the tyre warm up on the Ferrari was just not there. So that if they can potentially work together and hold that Ferrari back, then there's an opportunity to win a race. But give that Ferrari an inch and it will take a mile. So a tough one, I suppose. But every day is a learning day, and these Porsches haven't got it potentially as easy as what they thought they would for the latter rounds of this championship.
Yeah, exactly that. Great performances in this race, I must be said. Some really good drives, really positive drives. As I've seen Nathan Williams spin out of the race, as I say that. And now he is waiting for everyone to go past. So that is him down to P5. That is Casper Gazior promoted to a podium, which is extremely positive for him. And that is Nicky Taylor promoted up into P4, which is exactly what he needed after a difficult start to the season. Yeah. Not ideal for Nathan. Definitely a championship contender, not what he needed.
I was going to say, just we were saying about the Porsche, struggling with that rear left tyre, and as he come through that sort of left-hander, before the last corner, a lot of lean on that left-hand side of the car, and looked like that tyre almost gave way per se, and just the rear end went round, and not really too much he can do to hold on to it. So. Again, this is another one of those ones where just whether these setup changes are slightly too aggressive on the Porsche, and what they're having to do to get the pace out of them is too much, and putting the car on a nice edge. I do not know, but definitely did not work in his favour, as we see Cotalesa now overtaking Jordan Taylor for P6 as they go side by side. Sorry, Cotalesa and is that Nathan Williams actually? So Cotalesa diving up the inside in that Ferrari, and Ferrari versus Ferrari in this moment. Sorry, I say Nathan Williams. It wasn't Nathan Williams. It was Jordan Taylor and Cotalesa that were getting squirrely, and then obviously Henriksen and Catricala as well. So everyone getting involved. But yeah, Cotalesa, Jordan Taylor, and Henriksen going after one another here, hammer and tong. With 45 seconds left to go of this race.
Yeah, some great performances being shown towards the end of the race. Like I said, the Porsche is really starting to come alive at the end of this. Adam Lyle is too far up the road. They can't do anything about that. But like we mentioned earlier, it's Porsche until he gets P7 with Lorenzo Cotalesa And now behind them, like you mentioned, is... Who is that, actually, interesting?
Well, weirdly, this is why I got confused, because it's actually Josh Martin that's a lap down. By the things, who's come back out of the pit. So whether he's done a pit stop and just brought himself back out to get a few laps in before the start. Carl Felvis now dropping down to P3, so we just missed that there. Gazior getting in front of him, so potentially an issue there for Carl Felvis. Last lap was on 46.1, so obviously he made a mistake there, and that's allowed Gazior through, which Carl's not going to be too happy about. As we were on the last lap here, and I don't think he's going to have enough time to chase him down and get in front, but you know, stranger things have happened with Carl, and I'm sure he's going to be all out to try and gain that position back before the end of this race. But just as what we were alluding to, as we see Henriksen go flying off, as Nicky Taylor's now showing on pole, which definitely isn't the case. So a time and screen issue there, and now back out in front. I almost thought that Adam had made a mistake on the final lap of the first race and had thrown it all away. But no, just a timing gantry issue with the transponders on the car, and yeah, definitely Adam still leading this race and ready to wrap it up in style.
Indeed, it's been a great performance from him. Yeah, we missed Kyle. I'm not sure what happened there, but that is gut-wrenching on the final lap of the race, down to P3. Still good for his championship. Obviously, Nathan spun out, so that's really positive for him. As Adam Lyle takes the flag in tremendous fashion to take P1 here at Hungaroring. For race 1, here for round 3 of the Intercontinental GT Challenge for Phoenix Sim Racing. For P2, it's going to be Casper Gazior with his best finish of the season, which was great in P2. A great performance there with Kyle Felvis wrapping it up in P3. Not what he wanted, but P3, still a podium and a great result. Nicky Taylor bringing home in P4, with Nathan Williams in hot pursuit finishing in P5.
What a race that was. A little bit spread out, but yeah, I think it just goes to show who's got these cars dialed in and who's struggling with them. But we'll let these drivers get themselves back to the pits, get themselves ready for the reverse grid race, which I'm sure is going to be plenty interesting. And we'll see you just after this ad break for our race interviews.
What is going on, guys, and welcome back to Nerd PC Turbo Tech Reviews. Now today is something a little bit different. Normally we do just reviews on a single item, but today we're going to be showing you guys what you can expect from Nerd PC. Nerd PC is a bespoke building company where you can get absolutely any sort of style of gaming PC, office work PC, retail, or even for school work. This PC here demonstrates how small they can be, but yet still pack an absolute powerful punch. So from such a small computer like this, you may be worrying about heat, but these fans inside of here keep it absolutely ice cold as well as quiet. Now listen to this. Nice and quiet. Beautiful. Now we build completely different style of computers. Like I said, from this little one up here, it's all down to you. You get to decide on which case you want to use. You get to decide if you want it all flashy and RGB. You get to decide whether you want it completely plain and black. Remember, we do the hard part of figuring out which components work best for you for your value for money, but you get to decide on how it looks. If you're after something that's in your face, some bright and powerful as this. So this build here is in a Gigabyte C102 glass Arctic Ice case with 320mm Cooler Master fans at the front, 360mm all-in-one cooler at the top. This full white ice build does look insane, and I can assure you, you will not be disappointed. So if you're on the market for a brand new shining gaming computer, or if you want a computer for home use, retail, or office work, it's completely down to you. We just make it happen. So if you haven't done already, go and head over to the website at www.nerdpc.co.uk, have a browse through, see what's on there, or drop us a message directly on Facebook, and we'll do our absolute best to make it happen for you. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really do appreciate it. And if you are new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And if you did enjoy this video, hit the like for me, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye!
Hi everyone, and welcome back after a fantastic race one here at the Hungaroring. Really awesome to see these GT3 cars being put through their paces. And I'm first going to be speaking to Kyle. First of all, Kyle, we actually missed what happened on the penultimate lap there. Walk us through what happened.
Not much to say really, just these tyres don't last 30 minutes. I mean, everyone else's tyres do. The Mustang, the Ferrari, they last. Our Porsche, it doesn't last 30 minutes, and that's just story said really.
Yeah, super unfortunate, obviously running a great P2, but P3 still a podium, extremely positive for the points. Walk us through what your plans are for race 2. Is it sort of trying to work your way through as much as possible to gain championship points, or is it to try and stay out of trouble and just get the best results possible?
Yeah, stay out of trouble. I mean, it's probably going to be a P2 at the end of the day. I mean, I won't comment on it too much, but it's just, yeah, some speed is just ridiculous on some of these cars, and you can't compete with it. So, yeah, just try and stay out of trouble and go for the P2, I guess.
Brilliant. And finally, obviously you've had a really good start to the season, missing out Sebring last time. How are you feeling about this championship? Is it something that you feel you can maintain throughout the season, or is it sort of a good start and then you feel like the Porsche is going to drop off a bit?
Yeah, I mean, this Porsche, like I said before, the tyres don't last. Every other car does, so it's a story said, like I said. You can't do much. Yeah.
Well, thank you for your time. I'll let you go and get prepared for race 2 here. Well done again for race 1, and hopefully we'll be speaking to you again afterwards.
Yeah, cheers.
There we have it then. Kyle Felvers takes P3 after race 1 here at the Hungaroring. Unfortunately, we don't have Gazior here available for his interview for P2, so we're going to move straight on to Adam Lyle, our race winner here at the Hungaroring. Adam, a dominant drive and a dominant victory, and looks like your tyres did hold on. So yeah, just walk us through that one.
They didn't hold on for 30 minutes. Held on for about 25, and then they're gone. You can make them last 30, but if you've got a little bit of a battle, which I had, obviously Kyle bring me down my neck at the start, then yeah, you have to push a little bit harder, which just compromises them a bit at the end.
Yeah, just talk us through that at the start, because it looked like the tyres just didn't come in as quick as what the Porsches did at the start of the race, and you know, for a moment there, you had the Porsches breathing down your neck and were all over the back of you, especially into the chicanes. Like down the straight, it looked pretty clean sailing, but yeah, through the corners, it looked like you were really struggling for the first couple of laps.
Yeah, it's just how it's set up really. Just for the longevity of the tyres. Just set them up. They're a little bit pants to start with, and then they just build and get better and better, and then they just hit a cliff right at the end.
Gotcha. And then, you know, just looking into this championship, then, so obviously a dominant victory in race 1 of the last round. Obviously a P1 Kia. Obviously making movements in the championship and obviously building on this. Where do you see yourself in this race? Reverse good race. Do you think you can do the same thing again? Obviously, you know, just looking at your lap times towards the back end of the last race, obviously still quite a bit quicker than the likes of Kyle Felvers, you know, Nathan Williams, and even Gazior as well. So do you think that Ferrari's got what it takes to potentially take another race win and potentially run for the lead of this championship?
I'm not sure. I think it's a track that suits the Ferrari, so hopefully, but I can near enough put money on it that how many of them is there? 5, 6 in that team? They're going to make it difficult.
Oh, I don't doubt it for a second. Lacking a teammate up front.
I don't know. Toots is up top, I think.
In the reverse grid, yeah. But just looking back on race 1, obviously it was yourself on pole, and then it was almost like a HFT lockout behind. You know, how difficult is that without having your teammate up there with you? You know, obviously, yes, you won the race, but yeah, it must be difficult knowing that you've got almost a stampede of drivers behind you, all running for the same team, ready to sort of work together and bring you back a little bit.
Well, obviously I know Nathan and Kyle was the P1 and P2 in the championship, so I thought maybe they might not work together as hard as much as you think, and they might want to be going for the wins themselves. So I wasn't too worried, if I'm honest.
Okay, interesting. And I think, you know, leading on for the rest of this championship now, you're obviously in a great position to inflict some damage on some of these Porsches. Obviously, they're struggling with this rear tyre wear. Obviously, this Ferrari's doing much better for it. Is there any tracks that you're not looking forward to for the remainder of this season that, you know, you feel like the Ferrari might not be as competitive compared to, you know, the rest of the grid?
I'm not sure. I hate Silverstone when we come to that, so I'll struggle there. But I'm missing rounds 6 and 7 anyway, so I'm not going to be in a chance to win the championship anyway.
Okay. And, that's a curveball because my leading question was going to be like, do you think you can win it? But obviously, if there's going to be a period where you're not going to be here, and obviously there's one drop round within this season. If there's 2 rounds you're going to miss, then it drops you out. But did you think you got the pace, in the rest of the rounds to be able to put the car in a good position to gain the points to at least get yourself on the podium?
I hope so. That's my plan. Just take some points away from the others, and just go for it week by week. There's nothing like long term on it. Obviously, we're missing rounds, so just race by race now.
Okay, and just lastly, then, is there anyone that you want to shout out on the stream, just before we let you go?
Just my teammates, Toots, and obviously Jordan, but John's not here tonight. Obviously, a big help with the setups week in, week out. We all work together, and as you can see, it works. Indeed.
Well, look, congratulations, Adam, on the race 1 win, and potentially be speaking to you in race 2. But I'll let you get away and get yourself ready to go. 4 minutes left until the start of race 2.
Right, thanks, John.
Amazing stuff. So there we go then. Adam Lyle takes P1 here in the first race at Hungaroring, and what a dominant victory it was from him, and really nailing down the setup in that Ferrari to get himself in the right position. But interesting comments from the Porsche drivers. Obviously, struggling with that rear grip, and obviously we keep alluding to it, that rear left tyre just going off, and they just can't keep the pace, across that 30-minute race. And the likes of Adam Lyle, speaking around, the tyres, only potentially last about 25 minutes and then dropping off. But when you look at the lap time, still lapping probably about a second and a bit quicker, a second to a second and a half quicker a lap than what the Porsches are towards the back end. So I think the likes of Kyle Felvis, championship leader at the moment, really up against it. But you've got to say it's almost a lifeline that Adam Lyle's missing 2 rounds. So actually, when we spoke about a P2 or even the P3 that Kyle came in, isn't too bad, and those points are going to put him in a good position towards the back end of the championship. That looks a little bit more inviting now than potentially what it did.
Yeah, certainly. I think he's definitely on a comeback after a poor Monza, and I think he's in a really good place for the rest of the championship, and it will just be interesting to see if he can maintain his consistency and his pace, where he'll end up at the end. But obviously, going into this reverse grid race, it'll be difficult for drivers to work their way through the field with some very competitive drivers at the front. So they're going to have to be on their best behaviour, not making any contact, staying out of trouble, and ultimately banking points. It's going to be really crucial for the likes of Kyle Felvis and Nathan Williams to do that as well.
Yeah, indeed. So the reverse grid lineup looks like so, and actually Josh Martin, they said when he came into the pits, he'd almost thrown away his opportunity of starting on pole, but it's almost like he heard us over the stream and brought that car straight back out again onto the track and run himself round, and actually lines up on pole now for the reverse grid race. So a great opportunity for him, and I'm sure we've been looking to see what Ad had been doing in the first race, and knows he's got a strong opportunity in that Ferrari. If he can nail that first corner and get away cleanly and keep the rear end in check, so hopefully a few setup changes from him, Put him in a good position to potentially win this race. Ollie Watson in P2, Olivia Krzyżanowska in P3 after a difficult first race, it must be said, and a strong opportunity again for her in the Ferrari to put herself in a good position. You must say, being teammates with Ad, potentially running the same setup, pretty much I would have thought, between the two of them. So strong opportunity there. Kadra Carla P4, Henriksen P5, Jordan Taylor in P6, Carl Lesser P7, Nathan Williams P8, Nikki Taylor P9, and Carl Felvers rounding out the top 10. 11 downwards, Gazior in P11, Adam Lyle starting P12, and Ethan Kill starting in P13, right from the back. So, anyone's race. Minute left to go. Thomas, who's your money on for this one?
I'm going to go a little bit out of the blue here. I'm going to say Catricala. His pace was looking decent in race 1, and we know that he's got good starts. And in the reverse grid at Sebring, you know, kept it nice and consistent and was up there. So, yeah, I think we're in for a bit of an exciting one, but potentially he could be up front.
Interesting. It wasn't my first choice, but you know what? I'm going to go with Nathan Williams. I have a funny feeling that he's going to be able to pull something out of the bag. I know he's a fast driver. I know the lights are almost ready to illuminate, and drivers are revving up the engines, getting the oil temp up, getting the water temp in the right position. I'm sure they're going to be locking in, getting ready to go. But yeah, I don't think this is going to be as plain sailing as potentially what it will be. You know, with the difference in speed between a lot of these drivers, especially in the first race, and you know we saw that. However, if Josh Martin can keep it on the straight and narrow, a good opportunity for him to win. But yeah, my money is on Nathan Williams for this one, as the lighting gantry is ready to illuminate now. We wait for the 6 lights to go out, 4, 5, and 6, and it is lights out and away we go here. And Josh Martin with a slow getaway. Olivia Krzyżanowska getting a good run on him, but Josh Martin diving to the inside, knows exactly what he needs to do to fend off anyone trying to dive up the inside of him. Moves to the inside of middle of the track, and takes his line and takes a dominant run through the first corner. A few Porsches getting squirrely through the first corner, but Ollie Watson up into P2, Jordan Taylor P3, Kadra Carla P4, and I just say that Nathan Williams down in P5. Not quite the start that I think some of these Porsches wanted, but it's all starting to heat up in the mid-pack now. See Carl Felvers in P6 running really wide, and just putting himself in a bit of a difficult position, and just realised that the race interview screen's still on. Not great for anyone trying to watch, but as we see that, we've come in just at the right moment. We see Cotalessa going sideways and down into P13. Olivia Krzyżanowska down to P11, so not the greatest start for her. But as it stands, Josh Martin in P1, Ollie Watson in P2, about a second down. Jordan Taylor P3. I'm going to be chasing after, but not quite the start that we would have thought from, you know, the likes of Adam Lyle, Nikki Taylor, and even like Gazior down in P12.
Well, this is the competitive nature of this championship, right? Really, really competitive in race 1, but then get to race 2 with the reverse grid, and they're not able to make these positions up as quickly as they would like, because these other drivers are extremely quick and have just been caught up in incidents in race 1, or, you know, had a poor start to the evening. As I'm watching Catricala here, and he's got Carl Felvers on his inside, I believe that is, and loses another place. Not a most brilliant start, but he's been sent up the inside once more, but he keeps that Mustang around the outside, using the grunt to get back past. So yeah, not an ideal start for the Mustang, but he will still be pressing on, trying to gain back those points that he would have wanted. It's a great start for Nathan Williams up in P4 and for Carl Felvers in P5. Nathan Williams looking down the inside now of Jordan Taylor, and he's made the move stick. He's gone in super deep though, missed the apex, and that allows Jordan Taylor straight back through with Carl Felvers all on his back, but Carl Felvers spins out of the race, and he's into the wall heavy. And that is potentially his his race over. He tries to spin it back round, and he hits another wall. And the car is crabbing a huge amount, and I think that is Carl's race over. So, not what he needed whatsoever. Yeah, a few mistakes creeping in for our championship leader tonight. Not ideal.
No, but to be fair, as he goes off again and straight into the wall, I have a funny feeling that Carl had too much damage there and decided to exit stage left and finish that one off, which was not the. It was a great start from Kyle. Let's put it that way, and it goes to show, you know, how hard these drivers have to work to keep these cars on the straight and narrow. As you see, Nathan Williams obviously dived late into the first corner, out-braked himself, maybe a little bit of brake fade there. Kyle managed to get up the inside of him, but ran out wide onto that curve, and you know the tyres just were not up to temp enough, and that just spun the rear end round. So not what Kyle needed, and not what he needed for the championship either. But going off our predictions, Nathan Williams, who was my prediction for the win on this race, currently riding P4 and right behind Jordan Taylor as we go on board with him now. Jordan running really wide and making, let's say, making the most of the track limits of this circuit. But yeah, in a good position, and you know, Josh Martin keeping himself on the straight and narrow and keep out of the way, but not pulling away as we would expect. I think Nathan Williams got a little bit more pace than what Jordan Taylor's got, as he does, and he sends it down to the first corner incredibly late on the brakes, and again cannot get it stopped in time. And Jordan Taylor says, well, thank you very much. You're going to keep doing that in the first corner, I'll just keep diving back up the inside of you. So yeah, as we see it now, heartbreak for Kyle Felvers, who's DNF on this race, but it's down to the rest of the HFT drivers to pick their way through. And one thing that's gone slightly unnoticed is Adam Lyle now up to P5 and only a couple of seconds behind Nathan Williams. So I'm sure Nathan is going to be seeing him in the rearview mirrors and is going to be desperately trying to get in front, as we see Ollie Watson now going round. So that's going to gift another position now to Jordan Taylor. Jordan Taylor up now to P2, Nathan Williams to P3, Adam Lyle up to P4. And yeah, you've got to say Nathan Williams is going to be desperate to try and get in front of Jordan Taylor and just put a car's gap between him and Adam Lyle, because if not, I would expect that Ferrari to be on the tail of these two in the next sector.
One more thing I've just picked up on, Nicky Taylor has spun out of the race and headbutted the wall straight in front of my race prediction, Kachikala, which is not ideal. Championship protagonists firing out of this race, stage left and stage right, up and down in every direction. So yeah, this race has almost been thrown up in the air. We're not even 5 minutes, we're just 5 minutes into this race, and it's all kicking off. Adam Lyle was put in 2 purple sectors as we expected. He's going to be looking to potentially get his first double race win evening to match Kyle Felvers at Monza. He's definitely got the pace to do it, but it's whether or not people like Josh Martin and Jordan Taylor have built a big enough gap. As he looks to the inside of Nathan Williams, gains that position already, almost going into before turn 1. Claws back P3, and now he is on the back of Jordan Taylor. He's moved his way out of this field in absolute style, and he's already into a podium. So long as he makes no mistakes and keeps working his way through the field, we could see Adam Lyle for another P1.
Yeah, you're right, and it made that that run out the last corner look easy, and had the overtake done before it even made it into the first corner. But that Ferrari can just be so late on the brakes and get itself stopped. So you know, whether that's just down to the brake bias and nailing that down or whatnot, because you saw that Nathan Williams reached but Adam Lyle tagging Jordan Taylor round and spinning him out, and yeah, almost I think caught him off guard there, and potentially one for the stewards, which you know, might play into the hands of the likes of Nathan Williams as he now latches back onto the back of Adam Lyle. But yeah, you got to say that might be one just to unstabilise the run that Adam Lyle is on. You'd almost say that the move wasn't on. And maybe slightly caught him off guard, but yeah, it definitely wasn't up the inside, but we'll leave that one to the stewards to have a look at. But Josh Martin now 2.6 seconds clear at the front, and all he's got to do is keep pushing. You know, he's in equal machinery now with the Ferrari, and yeah, let's see, you know, what these drivers can do with 23 minutes left to go.
Yes, indeed. Definitely going to be one for the stewards. But Adam Lyle is going to have to be on a mission now. He's in second place. He's got a nice gap back to Nathan Williams, and he's going to be pushing after Josh Martin. The reason he'll be doing this is because, you know, there might be a 5 or 10 second penalty coming his way. But if he can build that gap in the race, then he could still potentially keep definitely a podium or potentially a race win. So for these last 22 minutes, he cannot worry about tyre preservation. He cannot worry about fuel saving. That Ferrari is going to have to be driven to the absolute limits to try and get past P1 of Josh Martin and get that gap to try and, at least claw back a decent position in this race, because I think that's almost a bit of a slam dunk penalty for the stewards there. He was not 50% alongside, he put his nose there, and yeah, it was just one of those things. Jordan Taylor, he turned in, he left the room, but Adam ran slightly deeper to the corner. It's one of those classic racing incidents. We never like to see it, but it always does happen, and it's natural. So nothing malicious there from Adam Lyle, just one of those things. But he'll be pushing on now, trying to get P1 away from Josh Martin, which he's doing significantly well at the moment. He was 7/10 quicker in Sector 1 than Josh, so Josh is definitely feeling the pressure currently, and will not be liking what he's seeing. A further 4/10 quicker for Adam in the second sector. And now this third one, I assume, will probably be quicker as well, as we see those two fries up the front. As Josh Martin goes for a spin, Adam Lyle narrowly misses him by the skin of his teeth. That promotes Nathan Williams up into P2, but significantly not ideal for Josh Martin there.
No, and you've got to say, how unlucky has he got to be to have that happen? We caught that live and direct. You just see the rear end start to step out, and I think Josh did everything he can to plant the throttle and try and keep it from going round, but he was just too far gone. The rotation was just far too violent and put himself in a really difficult position. He goes round again, and maybe just some frustration there from him as he's lit up those rear tyres. And again, same as race one, just cannot get that car doing what it needs to. I think it was only a matter of time before Adam got past him, nearly 2 seconds a lap quicker on the lap before than him. But yeah, not the race evening that Josh Martin was hoping for, especially when he can see the likes of Adam Lyle in equal machinery Ferrari putting in the performance that he is.
Yeah, certainly not what he would have wanted to see, but at the same time, he'll be pressing on now, trying to gain back those positions. But yeah, not ideal for Josh Martin, especially when he was running in a solid P1. Not what we wanted to see, but it is what it is, as they say. The Mustang of Catricala running well, and I'm just watching this battle pack that he's in, actually, ranging from Albert Henriksen, who has gone very much under the radar, and is running in P3 currently, with Jordan Taylor, Casper Gazior, Catricala, and Nicky Taylor now on the back of the Mustang. So yeah, really good battle pack in this midfield, which I think we're going to want to keep our eye on, because it must be said that the front half is there's very big gaps, and it's not very exciting to watch, although the drivers may think differently.
Yeah, as we just ride on board now with Nicky Taylor right on the back of Catricala in that Mustang, and you've got to say it's potentially again only a matter of time before that Porsche gets in front. And then one of the things he's really got to focus on, he really gets onto the back of now and dives up the inside into this left-hander. My words were going to be he needs to try and make this happen pretty quickly before the tyres start to go off on this Porsche, and just like that, he's made it happen. But you can see how late that Mustang can get into that last corner. That's so late on the brakes, and it's so stable too. And down the straight, you're going to see it start to pick up on the back of Nicky Taylor, but he's just not going to be able to do anything. He's just not close enough. And the car's so heavy that through the corners he's going to be at a loss. But good opportunity now for Nicky to catch up to the back of Gazior. See Jordan Taylor potentially not quite as fast as the cars behind him, and this is going to bunch these three up quite nicely as Henriksen running P3. This is going to be potentially a three-way battle for a podium position here, or potentially four-way battle for a podium position if Nicky Taylor can get involved. But all to play for with 18 minutes left to go. But my initial prediction of Nathan winning this race, I think, has potentially all been thwarted with Adam Lyle now getting out in front of that Ferrari, because unless he makes a mistake, I can't see anyone else winning this race.
Well, you don't know. There is a potential post-race penalty coming in, but definitely on the road. As Nicky Taylor goes for a spin, almost takes out Catricala, but he's spun at the same place he did earlier on in the race. So he's really struggling with the exit. There are some aggressive curbs there, and that Porsche being so low that it is catching him out. So not ideal for Nicky Taylor there, and that's potentially his race over, especially for a good result now. The tyres are starting to drop away on that Porsche, and he won't be able to do a lot. As now Cottaletta's caught up back with Catricala after that little checkup that he had to have with Taylor spinning across the front of him. So yeah, again, it's all kicking off. These race 2 always does. They are always thrilling and entertaining with the action. They never disappoint. We look a little bit further up between these two, and we see the likes of Gazior and Taylor and Henriksen battling it out. As there's a slow car on the exit of the final corner. I think that's a lap car. The panic is over. But yeah, these 3 Porsches really going at it. The flash of the lights is being shown by Jordan Taylor here, so he's wanting to get past to get that podium. But yeah, so some really good racing going on currently with 17.5 minutes to go.
Indeed, and one thing I just noticed there was Nathan Williams setting the fastest lap of the race, 10th quicker than Adam Lyle. So keeping him in check, and we saw this, it's almost a repeat of Kyle Felber's Adam Lyle in the first race. 17 minutes left to go, the Porsche is still in good standing. Adam Lyle saying that the Ferrari drops off sort of with 5 minutes left to go. Porsche drivers saying that the tyres are pretty much dropping off halfway through this race. So it's about the sort of time where these Porsches are going to start to fall off of a cliff, I would have thought. And you're going to start to see the lap times dropping quite considerably. So what is going to be interesting is it's pretty much Porsche from P2 down to P5 now. So it's who of these Porsche drivers can make these tyres last the longest. But one thing I can say is a lot of drivers here really pushing the limits of the track and potentially exceeding these track limits here. So potentially some stewards' inquiries to have a look at this after the race. So might not all be as it seems.
There is another trio of a battle pack there. Cotalesa using too much of the curb and running extremely wide, managing to save the car and keep it out of the wall, which was extremely entertaining to watch. Probably not from his POV, but that has allowed the Mustang back through. And this Mustang, it must be said, he's not got the ideal pace. Cotalesa going for a real big slide on the exit there. He's not got the pace as that Mustang, but he's doing an absolute stonking defence here. And is keeping that Mustang up in P6 currently. So yeah, it's awesome to watch. A shame it hasn't got the pace, because it would have been nice to see another GT3 challenging at the front. Then you would have had the 3 manufacturers, but even so, he's still doing a great job. And with these Porsche's tyres going off in race 2, you know there are mistakes brewing. So we may see a little few mishaps towards the end of the race. Last lap, interestingly, Nathan Williams set his best lap on a 42.869, which he gained 7/10 back on Adam Lyle. The gap is now 1.1 seconds, and he set 3 purple sectors out of the 4. So yeah, mega there from Nathan Williams. He's potentially found something in that Porsche that no one else has, and could be challenging Adam for this win now. So what you were saying there, Joel, about potentially your driver going out of contention, I don't think so. As Nicky Taylor and Cotalesa have come together, Cotalesa loses the rear end of the car. Nicky Taylor is caught up in the incident, had nowhere to go, which has allowed the Mustang to get away. And Josh Martin, interestingly, going up the inside of Nicky Taylor, running him out of road. Nicky Taylor having to skip across the chicane. In theory, he should give that back, but I don't think he is, as he'll see that as he got hit off the circuit. So yeah, it's all starting to kick off with this little battle pack at the back, which is really entertaining.
Yeah, Josh Martin getting his elbows out there and really getting involved and getting stuck in, and a good recovery drive from him. Obviously, Nicky Taylor really struggling in the rear end of that Porsche. But as we talk about this, maybe I did speak too soon, or maybe Adam Lyle is being careful with his tyres here. But as we look at it now, another 2.5 tenths nearly. Nathan Williams was quicker than Adam Lyle on that last lap alone. The gap's now down to about a second. It was about 8 tenths onto that last corner. So it's not all said and done just yet. 14 minutes left to go. Realistically, these Porsche tyres sort of dropped off of a cliff, which we're seeing from P3 downwards. So like you alluded to, maybe Nathan Williams has found something in this Porsche, maybe a slight setup tweak, something like that, that has managed to get this car in the right operating window as he now chases after Adam Lyle, and going to be putting him under a bit of pressure. And I would have thought, if I was Adam Lyle right now, I'd be a little bit confused as to what's going on, with the lead that I had in the first race, and how dominant I was, to suddenly see a Porsche running its lights up in my rear view mirror. I'd be a little bit concerned and think, what is going on here? So this might be an opportunity for Nathan, if he can just stick with him and keep within that second gap, just to put him under a bit of pressure and potentially force him to make a mistake. But you've got to say, as it currently stands, Nathan Williams doing an absolutely incredible job here in P2 to stick with that Ferrari, as he's now only 7 tenths away.
Yeah, he certainly is. He set a new personal best in Sector 1. Even with that, Adam Lyle was still 2 tenths quicker in Sector 1, even with Nathan setting his best. So that Ferrari is coming alive in Sector 1, but then it drops off towards the end of the lap, and that's where the Porsche comes into it. Sector 2, he was 2 tenths quicker than Adam up in front, and then a further 2 tenths quicker in Sector 3. So, yeah, that Porsche really pushing on now, really finding the time, and he will be in the tow, even though he's got more balance of performance. He's in the tow, and he will now be having that beauty of a slipstream all the way down this turn 1. You see Adam getting to the inside there to break the tow. Nathan is not going to stay with him. He's just going to focus on driving his lines to hopefully with a chance of getting that first place. It's been a good drive from Nathan Williams so far, and hopefully he'll be able to withstand it.
I was going to say, do you know what, as a driver, you know, for Nathan Williams to see Adam Lyle pulling out of almost an imaginary tow there, because realistically Nathan wasn't close enough for that, and all that's going to do for Adam is scrub off speed. And if I was Nathan Williams right now, I'd think, you know, Adam is feeling the heat and he's feeling the pressure in it. That's what it looks like right now. You know, again, only about 6 tenths now separate to 2, as you see Nathan Williams just slowly closing up on the back of this Ferrari. So whatever it is Nathan's found, it's working. And you've got to say, as a HFT driver, what does this mean for subsequent races? If he's managed to find something special in that setup that's allowing him to compete with this Ferrari, because if we look at 11 minutes, you know, left to go of the previous race, Adam Lyle was about 7 seconds up the road and away from everyone else. So Nathan Williams doing an incredible job here, and he's only getting closer. May this prediction have played out, and I'll tell you what, if he wins it, I'm going to buy a lottery ticket, as yeah, he climbs right onto the back now of this Ferrari, and looks like Adam Lyle's potentially struggling. 4 tenths separates the 2.
Yeah, they certainly do. He is all over the back now. That gap has been shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, and now he's within striking distance of Adam Lyle. Potentially a move into turn 1. I think he's a little bit too far back this time, but if he can hook up the next lap, he is going to be right with him. Adam Lyle feeling the heat now. He's not going to pull out of the imaginary tow.
And
he's
Jordan Taylor, sorry to jump in, Jordan Taylor has lost grasp of P3 and has spun it on the last corner there, and put himself out of contention for a podium, which is going to be devastating for him. But again, flash of the lights, he's clearly messed up here as he chases after Catricala. Sorry to jump in. I'll go back to you.
Absolutely no problem. Thank you for picking up on it. Nathan Williams again dropping away in Sector 1. That Porsche does not come alive in Sector 1. The gap has extended now, but now this is where the Porsche comes into it. Mounts the curb before using all of the road on the exit, braking down to 3rd or 2nd gear potentially, trailing the brakes through, back on the power, using the runoff curb there. Before setting yourself up nicely for the chicane, braking at the beginning of the curb, heavy onto the brakes, using the ABS and these GT3s before absolutely annihilating the sausage curves through, using the exit curb. And you see how much that Porsche is being hustled by Nathan there, but how it's very much, you know, being submissive to Nathan's hands and inputs, and it's just responding to everything he does, where Adam looks like a little bit slower. I don't know if he's conserving here to try and, you know, be able to hold the tyres for those last 5 minutes where Nathan's going to be looking all over the back. But I said if Nathan can hook up a good lap this lap, he's going to be within striking distance at turn 1. And I think he may just be, so long as he gets a good exit out of the final corner here. The gap is smaller than last lap, and they're going to go back over to the left-hand side before braking heavy, trailing the brakes through, getting it nicely to the curb. He's being a little bit more disciplined at the apex, getting back to the power nicely. But Adam, with that wider line, is able to get the drive out. But it'll be interesting here. No, it's still too far back. The time then extended on the exit. So, yeah, Nathan not within striking distance, but couple thousandths quicker than Adam on that last lap. So Adam potentially feeling like he's conserved enough and will now get back to that pace that we're usually used to seeing.
Yeah, a phenomenal battle going on between these two. Like Adam now second ahead, which, you know, has pulled out 7 tenths just down the straight alone. But like you say, that Ferrari must be in like ultimate like drag trim. Like there's no sort of almost error on this thing at all. It's purely set up for straight line, but it almost makes you wonder, was Adam just backing off? Because I mean, it doesn't make sense. I mean, that I'm not taking anything away here from Nathan Williams. He's driving absolutely phenomenally, and you can see him, you know, just through these corners here, the way that he uses the weight transfer through the corners to really lean on the car and almost use that weight transfer to chuck it through and get that front end pointing where it needs to. He's absolutely sublime, and for someone to be this close to that Ferrari at this later stage of the race, that rear tyre, left tyre must be screaming right now, and he's still putting on an absolute show. So absolutely phenomenal stuff from him, but it does make me wonder, is Adam maybe just playing a bit of a game here and potentially having a little bit of fun? I have a funny feeling there's a bit more performance in that Porsche than what, in the Ferrari than what he's letting on at the moment.
Yeah, I think you could be right. The gap this time has extended between the two of them, so that potentially was Nathan's best opportunity, and nothing came of it, unfortunately. I think there was a bit of a coming together between Catricala as well and Jordan Taylor. Jordan Taylor now DNFing from the race. Catricala down to P7, so not all we wanted to see there. But Catricala continues for the final 7 minutes, and you never know what may happen. Stranger things have happened within the world of sim racing and esports. So
and Jordan,
we'll
Nicky Taylor going round P4 again, spin on the last corner, and that's promoted Henriksen up into P4, Cottalessa up into P5, and Nicky Taylor back down into P6. So just getting on that loud pedal a little bit too quick in that last corner. And thrown it away again, and you must say Nicky Taylor is going to be so furious off the back of that. But interestingly, I'm wondering whether these HFT drivers are just looking at what Nathan Williams is doing right now and cheering him on, screaming at their screens for him to be able to make the move and to catch up to the back of Adam Lyle, because even though, you know, Adam has pulled out a bit of a gap now, it's the gap with 6 minutes left to go is still only 9/10 of a second. So Nathan Williams doing an absolutely phenomenal job to keep himself in the position that he's in and to keep that Porsche on the straight and narrow.
He is indeed. He even just survived this race without spinning in a Porsche is an achievement, right? From what we've been seeing, but this is incredible. You see him, he's a little bit deep in there, almost creating a bit of a V shape for himself. And Adam Lyle having a twitch. The gap has returned to a little bit closer this lap, so potentially Adam wants a little bit of a fight going on to this last lap, or Nathan has picked up the pace. We'll see what their last laps are. Nathan's last lap was a 44 dead, and it's the same this lap, but Adam Lyle dropping off to a 44.3. The gap is back down to 6.5/10. So there is a potential move coming if Nathan can hook this up as nicely as we have been seeing. Adam, they're going in a little bit tight. Nathan with a big squirm on the exit. He is trying absolutely everything in this Porsche. He's got to be careful that he doesn't spin, but he has got 15 seconds in hand if there is a little mistake to retain his P2, which obviously he doesn't want. But if that's going to be the difference between getting a second and a third, then that is ultimately what he wants. Going back down a little bit further down the field, there are a few little close battles. The closest one probably between Albert and Lorenzo for P4 and P5. But apart from that, the gap is quite spread out. I think this is the one you want to be watching. The lead between Nathan Williams and Adam Lyle with 5 minutes left to go. Adam cannot put a foot wrong here. His consistency and his accuracy has got to be pinpoint if he wants to stay in front of Nathan Williams, which so far he is doing, but I don't want to jinx it. And Nathan Williams, this is where the Porsche comes into its own. You can see he's just absolutely wringing the neck of this Porsche. Adam Lyle not opening up the corner as well as Nathan. Nathan carrying the good speed, a bit more disciplined at the apex, and he's got the run going down into sector 4. He's going to be deeper on the brakes going into this hairpin. The Porsche using all of its braking power there. A little bit better than the Ferrari, it must be said. He's got a nice drive out, and this is probably the closest we have ever seen him. Again, deep on the brakes. Using that later apex to get the exit that he needs. Obviously with higher ballast, it's going to be more difficult for him to get past on the straight, and Adam being so strong in sector 1, but he's going to go for that late apex to try and get any sort of drive he can. A little bit wide of the apex that time, so there's going to be no move like we've seen again into turn 1, but the gap is now down to 5/10 of a second. This is it. This is the biting point of this race. There are 2 or potentially 3 more laps if they can return to some decent pace here. Nathan Williams again super sideways on the exit of turn 1, using all of the track and a bit more of it on the track limits. He's going to again go deep, braking at the beginning of the curb, and he's all over the back of Adam Lyle now. The battle is on.
He is indeed, but I have a funny feeling with 3 minutes left to go, Nathan has exhausted those rear tyres. And look, fair play to him as you see him going to this blind left-hander here. He carries so much more speed, but you can just see how non-compliant that rear end of that Porsche is, and he is struggling to keep it on the straight and narrow. He's got it almost sideways, 90 degrees sideways on every corner. He's really struggling, but as you see him come through here, through into the chicane, look at the different line that he takes compared to Adam. Eats all of the curb on the inside of both parts of the chicane there, and can just take so much more on the car, so compliant with it. As soon as you seem to put the rear end under any load though, off the curb, that's it. He's really struggling. He's really having to feather that throttle. He can't put it down too quickly, especially if he's running off the back end of a curb. You see him do it, and the rear end just lights up and away he goes. He's so narrowly close, and he's using as much of that track as he can just to carry the speed. Again, just a bit of correction on that rear end. He's really having to hold tight to it. And with 2 minutes left to go, this is, again, as close as we're going to see them. But we saw this on the last lap, and Nathan coming into this last corner, the rear did not want to go, and he had to catch it. And again, having to do the same thing again. That actually helped with rotation a little bit, but Adam Lyle just with a better run out of there in that Ferrari. The Ferrari is looking like it's on rails, and actually Adam gaining a couple of tenths of an advantage on that lap alone. Do you know what? Even if Nathan does not win this race, fair play to him, because do you know what? He's done something with that Porsche that no one has been able to do this evening, and that's been able to challenge this Ferrari in front. And albeit, 1.4 seconds off him now with a minute and a half left to go, he has pushed that car to its ultimate limit and more, and still been able to keep up there. So an absolutely phenomenal job there by Nathan Williams.
Indeed, it's been incredible. As we look back to 6th, 7th and 8th now, absolutely as one. Alessandro Cacciacala in hot pursuit of Nicky Taylor, with Josh Martin just behind. The Mustang's going to pull to the outside. Josh Martin's going to go to the middle. It's going to be 3 wide going into turn 1. The Mustang's deep on the brakes. Josh Martin even deeper onto the brakes. Nicky Taylor's kept it. The Mustang runs too deep into the corner and has allowed Josh Martin through. Josh Martin now on the inside of Nicky Taylor, and it must be said, I think Nicky Taylor's going to let him have that one. It's not been an ideal race, and I think he just wants to stay out of trouble and bank those points. The Mustang, though, is not out of it. He's still all over the back, trying to gain those positions back. And this is great, isn't it? After half an hour of racing, having these drivers so close together. Nathan Williams once more on the back of Adam Lyle, but I think the gap is a little bit too big. It's going to be going on to the final lap of the race, next lap. He's going to be looking for anything he can. The Porsche is so strong in Sector 3, but he just can't get close enough in Sectors 1 to make any sort of a last-ditch attempt. We're going to see again here, Nathan getting a nice exit. He's a little bit sideways, but it was still nice. But Adam's just going to have that gap. It's back down to 5 tenths. 3 tenths was gained last lap, but then that Adam Lyle in that Ferrari is just going to romp back out. So yeah, and I think if I was Nathan at the moment and he's seen the incident, obviously there was an incident with Adam Lyle at the beginning of the race. If you missed that on the stream, but yeah, if I was him, I would wait behind and potentially just conserve and wait if there's any penalty afterwards, because I don't think he's going to be close enough for a move this lap. You can see he's actually quite backed off.
Yeah, indeed. And do you know what? I was actually riding on board with Cacciacala there, and it was right on the back of Nicky Taylor through the long right-hander towards like the start of Sector 2, and both him and Nicky, a little bit of a bump between them, and both absolutely synchronised sliding through the corner. Both did very well to collect themselves and keep going, but that's given Josh Martin the opportunity to get away from the two. But Cacciacala now right on the back of Nicky Taylor, so he goes around the outside. Nicky sticks it on the inside and just tries to hold him off, which he does do. Cacciacala gives him the room, doesn't make any silly moves or any cut-offs to try and keep him behind him. He knew that wasn't going to happen, and that Mustang now back all over the rear of that Porsche. But you've got to say, even the Mustang struggling with the rear end and trying to keep it on the straight and narrow. So yeah, some phenomenal battles towards the back end of this race. But you've got to say now, we're on to the final lap. Nathan Williams, again, still under a second from Adam Lyle. And what a race it's been. And just to show, as they come into the last corner now, 17 seconds ahead of P3 of Gazior. But as we round it out, Adam Lyle is going to take his second win of the evening and take that race, albeit not quite as easy. And Nathan Williams taking a thoroughly deserved P2. And will potentially wait for a steward's inquiry there on the incident between Adam Lyle earlier on in the evening at the start of that race to potentially gift Nathan Williams that win. But what a race that was, and incredible work to keep himself like in touch with that Ferrari more than anything. Absolutely sublime.
Yeah, great drive from Adam there. Brilliant under pressure skills there. Managing to stay super consistent. As we see Catch Carla, one last attempt up to the line, not going to happen. Nicky Taylor holds on for a disappointing P7, it must be said. You see his steering wheel in a straight line, very, very bent. So he's done well to wrangle that car around the circuit. It hasn't been an ideal race night for himself, but it's been great from everyone else. And yeah, so some great results. Adam Lar with his first double P1 of the evening, but we wait for a Shield inquiry with Nathan Williams with a brilliant drive.
Indeed. So we'll let these drivers make their way back round to the pits to bring the cars in for their post-race checks, and we'll be speaking to Adam Lyle, Nathan Williams, and potentially Casper Gazior if he's available. If not, we'll definitely be speaking to Adam Lyle and Nathan Williams just after this ad break.
What is going on, guys, and welcome back to Nerd PC Turbo Tech Reviews. Now today is something a little bit different. Normally we do just reviews on a single item, but today we're going to be showing you guys what you can expect from Nerd PC. Nerd PC is a bespoke building company where you can get absolutely any sort of style of gaming PC, office work PC, retail, or even for school work. This PC here demonstrates how small they can be, but yet still pack an absolute powerful punch. So from such a small computer like this, you may be worrying about heat, but these fans inside of here keep it absolutely ice cold as well as quiet. Now listen to this. Nice and quiet. Beautiful. Now we build completely different style of computers. Like I said, from this little one up here, it's all down to you. You get to decide on which case you want to use. You get to decide if you want it all flashy and RGB. You get to decide whether you want it completely plain and black. Remember, we did the hard part of figuring out which components work best for you for your value for money, but you get to decide on how it looks. If you're after something that's in your face, some bright and powerful as this. So this build here is in a Gigabyte C102 glass Arctic ice case with 320mm cooler master fans at the front, 360mm all-in-one cooler at the top. This full white ice build does look insane, and I can assure you, you will not be disappointed. So if you're on the market for a brand new shining gaming computer, or if you want a computer for home use, retail, or office work, it's completely down to you. We just make it happen. So if you haven't done already, go and head over to the website at www.nerdpc.co.uk, have a browse through, see what's on there, or drop us a message directly on Facebook, and we'll do our absolute best to make it happen for you. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really do appreciate it. And if you are new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And if you did enjoy this video, hit the like for me, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye!
Welcome back after an absolutely exhilarating race for race 2 here in the Phoenix Sim Racing GT Challenge, and we're joined, unfortunately we don't have Gaziel with us for podium interviews just due to translation issues. However, we'll move directly on to Nathan Williams in P2. Nathan, what an absolutely fantastic drive, and you know, we were singing your praises on the stream because you were able to find something in that Porsche in race 2 that no other Porsche driver has found. So just talk us through that, because that was incredibly close between you and Adam.
Yeah, I don't know, the car just felt a bit more stable then. I think I was a bit faster in the final stages of the first race, but I had a screen freeze which put me back a bit. But I think just in that race I was able to, the tyres overheated, but I was just able to deal with them a bit better, so yeah.
No, absolutely not. And was there a setup change between race 1 and race 2, or was it sort of kept the same, or?
I changed the tyre pressures a bit, but it was the same setup as the rest of HFT had, so right. I'm not sure what it was, but there's something that I managed to do that just made the car a bit more drivable.
I was going to say, it definitely didn't make it easy for Adam, and we see you, not potentially really through Sector 1, we saw that Ferrari looked to get away in Sector 1 from you, but then, you know, through the chicane, especially in Sector 2, and, you know, through the subsequent corners, that Porsche looked like it was on rails, and then, you know, towards the back end of the race, we saw you pretty much broad sideways every corner trying to hold onto that car. It looked like you were giving 150% to keep up that Ferrari. Just how did it feel towards the end? Was it really like that? Were you really wringing the neck of that car?
Yeah, I think I was just really trying to push, see if we could keep on the back of Adam in case he made a mistake, and I think in doing so, it's so hard to keep the car in a straight line, especially on exit, so you definitely slide in a lot of places. Definitely a few times where you realise that you've just gone for a save, which if he didn't make would be the race over and you in a wall. So it's quite scary in the final few laps.
Yeah, for sure. And what a fantastic race it was. I think, given the fact that, Adam was, potentially 7.5, 8 seconds ahead in the first race to not being even a second ahead of you towards the back end of the second race, they just go to show how well you drove that Porsche, and what phenomenal race that you put on, and not only for us as commentators, but also for the viewers as well. So a big well done there. And just looking forward now, obviously, to the championship. Does that sort of up your hopes, I suppose, more than anything, to know that potentially this Porsche has got the capability to keep up with the Ferrari? And where do you see yourself in this championship?
I think the Porsche is the strongest circuit for the Porsche, in being a bit lower speed, a few tighter corners, so it's a bit worrying that the Ferrari still seem to be able to win the races. But in terms of compared to the other Porsches, obviously Kyle didn't finish that race, which helps a bit. So I think in terms of the other Porsches, I'm quite happy with where I'm in the championship, and it's just seeing how the car progresses over the rest of the season and whether we can get a bit closer to the Ferrari over race distance.
For sure. And just lastly then, before I let you go, is there anyone you wanted to shout out on the stream before you disappear?
Yeah, I'd like to thank my family, and then also my sponsor, PB Williams, and then also DKMS, who are the charity we're supporting this year.
Amazing stuff. Well, a big congratulations, and incredible stuff for that race too. That was definitely a joy for myself and Thomas to commentate on. So yeah, big well done, and look forward to seeing you in the next round.
Yeah, thank you.
No worries, there we have it then. Nathan Williams taking a commanding P2 and nearly a P1 away from Adam Lyle, and did not make it easy for him at all. But what it does leave us now is the opportunity for Thomas Merritt to talk to our double race winner in P1, Adam Lyle.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome back. We are speaking once again with Adam Lyle. 3 out of 3 interviews. That's got to be one of the firsts. First of all, talk us through how that race was. I bet your heart is beating out of your chest currently.
Yeah, that was a lot harder. It was lap 1, lap 2. I was surrounded by HFT cars, and I thought, oh, this is going to end bad. But luckily it didn't. So yeah, it was definitely good. I think I pushed too hard just to go for the fastest lap near the start, and I was struggling a little bit more than race 1 from then on.
100% fully understandable. Obviously, we've seen Hungaroring tonight has been almost a bit of a killer on tyres. On your end of things, has it been more difficult than other circuits we've visited on tyres, or is it just drivers trying to push to the absolute max?
To be honest, I think that was probably the best track on tyres out of the 3 that I've done. I just felt like taking V'ing off the corners, going in a lot slower, V'ing them off and exiting. Obviously on the throttle a bit earlier just seemed to save them a little bit as well, and give you that extra little bit down the straight.
Interesting. And finally, looking ahead to the next round, what are your hopes going into it? Are you looking to carry this momentum forward and potentially fight for the championship? Obviously you're missing the 2 rounds, but what are your thoughts going into that one?
Yeah, Spa, along with Sebring that we did last week, possibly my next best favourite track anyway. So I'm hoping to get a good one there. And then when I'm actually going to Spa in a few weeks, so no one will hear the end of it if I'm talking about how I won round this track.
Fantastic. Well, I'll let you head off and get prepping, but thank you for tonight. It's been a good overall race evening, and I'm happy to announce that you also won Driver of the Day as well, so many congratulations.
Thank you. Can I just give a shout out to my 2 sisters? They told me off for not doing it in race 1. So, hi, I've forgotten what name is it. Hi Emma and hi Sophie. That sounds fun.
No problem. Well, many congratulations, and hopefully we'll be speaking to you in the near future.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
There we have it then, Adam Lyle with 3 out of 3 interviews. qualifying race 1 and race 2 wins, and then finishing it off with forgetting his sister's name, so I'm sure he's not going to hear the end of that one either. But yeah, big congratulations to Adam, and not having it as easy in that second race as he potentially thought, and showed potentially a bit of vulnerability in that Ferrari compared to some of the Porsches. So yeah, what a night's racing that was. And you know, as we now look on to Spa-Francorchamps for next week's race, yeah, you got to say it's going to be a bit of a thriller, and actually might change the order a little bit, especially with the Mustangs. You know, with how strong they are in straight line speed. It'd be interesting to see what they're like up Eau Rouge and down the long back straight. But yeah, definitely looking forward to it. But that's it from us this evening. Thank you ever so much for watching. Thank you to everyone in the YouTube chat that's been chatting away. Thank you to everyone that's watched. And we look forward to seeing you next week at Spa. From us here at Phoenix.